Hi, it's Kjaer from SWOOP, and today I'm with Craig from the Big Picture People. Craig, you and I, we caught up in another interview a short time ago, and as we were talking, I got so interested in what you guys are doing at the Big Picture People because there's some wonderful, parallels to our work here at SWOOP. So, Craig, tell me about the Big Picture People. What sort of problems do you solve for companies?
Okay, Kai, hi. Yeah, I guess one of the things that we find is that a lot of business leaders find it difficult to explain what their businesses or organizations' mission, vision, values are, and that's not because they're not clever, they're not smart people. It's just because sometimes they're a little bit too close to it, and there's just so much going on. So what we've developed is a highly effective process that allows us to work with those leaders to kind of curate all of that information, all those stories, and all of that narrative about their business and put that into a kind of a beautifully designed package that they can use with their people to help everybody understand the big picture. And I guess the analogy that we use, it's a bit like, you've bought a 3,000 piece jigsaw puzzle, you've tipped all the pieces on the table, and then you turn the box lid over and it's just blank. And, where do I start? And that's what we do. We help to create that box lid that people can use to see where everything fits together for their people.
That's a wonderful analogy. I can imagine you sitting there in workshops and getting people to draw the whole sort of company vision almost on your puzzles.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do that as well. But a lot of it is actually it's amazing. We can find there's just so much stuff in organizations. There's so many,
Yes.
it's on a PowerPoint presentation over there, a PDF over there, it's in someone's head over there. And it's just teasing all of that different information out and just putting it all together because often, the pieces don't fit and we have to help the organization to iron out some of those incongruences between the story that they have in their head and what they think they want their people actually understand as well. So yeah, it's a really fascinating process.
I we talked about the work you're doing around doing big organizational change initiatives and things like that, and the importance of getting people to participate. I guess to get involved in that
Yeah.
change. Can you tell me about what sort of how do you what are some of the barriers you might encounter for getting people to participate in these things, and how have you overcome those?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things is I think all of this stuff only really comes to life when we can have a proper conversation about it, when we can have a two-way dialogue between the leaders within the organization and everybody else within the organization. And at the end of the day, everybody is just part of the organization, whether they're leaders or employees or whatever name we give to them. So one of the challenges is how do we have those conversations? And that's another thing that we help organizations to do is to have the conversations they don't know how to have. And this product, this toolkit that we put together with the big picture and all of the supporting narrative around that helps to have that dialogue. I think part of that skill or part of the challenge that organizations face is finding the time. It's finding a way to have that conversation without it just being a one-way download. Just we're going to give you another PowerPoint presentation and bombard you with loads of slides and it be kind of a town hall, which are great, but it can be a bit of a one-way flow, and people only really make sense of this stuff when they can actually interact with it and ask questions, but also articulate it themselves. I mean, you probably know when you overthink something, all it takes is a 5-minute conversation with someone else, and it kind of all makes sense. And it's a bit like that with our organizations as well. Unless people can actually talk about it to other people, it doesn't make sense and it's difficult. So it's finding the time, it's the skills as well. I think managers and leaders, for all the great skills they have, being able to facilitate those conversations is difficult for them. And I think we help them with that. We train them, but also having the materials in the toolkit gives them the confidence to say, I've got the materials. All I really need to be able to do now is to just ask questions and listen, because that's the art of it, really. And I know that kind of links to what you advocate as well with with digital. It's asking questions, listening, and responding to the replies that you get. It's no different.
Absolutely. So, if you like, it sounds to me like you're really the pair of safe hands. You're or those that know Swoop, you might have heard that we often talk about that we're sort of the Fitbit for collaboration, the measurement mechanism. And it sounds like you might be the fitness coach.
Yeah, well, yeah, we like to think ourselves as the guide. Our clients are our heroes. They're the people who run these really complex businesses. They are the people who make things happen. Yeah, they're the magic makers. We're there to sort of hold their hand and help them through a process so they can actually articulate that and have some clarity over that. Because as we all know, if there's no clarity, it's very difficult to get a unified purpose and a unified direction. And at the end of the day, it's all about the results. We want when people know what the plan is and they know where they're heading, they know what the game plan is, they're much more likely to deliver great results than if everybody's doing their own thing.
Craig, in the last or less than a year now, we are at the moment here as we're recording this, we're in February, so the pandemic has been with us almost for a year now. Yeah. And it's blatantly obvious to everyone, a lot of things have moved online. What's sort of your advice for people to have these conversations, as you were talking about, in the context of the big picture? How would you have those online?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, Kjaer, because it's something we've wrestled with, and I think we've kind of finally got there after a lot of internal reflection and torment to a certain extent, because our process is very much, it's a fireside conversation. It's about that human interaction, using the metaphor of sitting around the campfire being this kind of toolkit that we've created where we can really understand that and unpick it, and to do that virtually is difficult. We have created a platform now, but again, rather than it being a passive, here I'm going to run through a load of slides with you, it's very much around how do we turn that into a conversation. So using Teams, using Zoom, using whatever platform it is the client has to create a shared space on the screen, which is something that we relate to, but then being able to interact with that, albeit maybe only through the facilitator, but to make it into some sort of to draw some sense from that. But at the end of the day, it's all about the quality of the conversation. It's not how fancy the graphics are or how whizzy the technology is. At the end of the day, it's all about the conversation. And again, I think that's where we have congruence over the way we see the world, is that you've got to have that conversation, whether it's digitally or whether it's face to face. It's through conversation that change happens, and yeah, the pandemic has created a challenge around that. I think it's created some great opportunities as well, don't get me wrong, but I think in terms of that human interactivity and conversation, I think we've had to be really creative. And I know not just us, but I've seen other great creative approaches that people have used to keep that conversation going, rather than it being a kind of, it's very tempting to just fall into passivity and presentation mode, I think, in this world.
Yeah, it's all about changing from broadcasting to having two-way conversations. Great. Where do people find you? What's your website, and what are some of the things that maybe, is there anything that people can get for you as a bit of a freebie to start themselves off? So tell us more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking, Kjaer. Yeah, so our website is thebigpicturepeople.co.uk, which is our domain name. You can find us there. We also have a podcast, as you know, because we've interviewed you on the podcast, which is all about engagement and communication and all of the things we've been talking about today, and other related topics as well. And that you can find that at engagingic.com. Hopefully you'll put some links to this in the show notes, and that people can find that. So engagingic.com for the podcast, thebigpicturepeople.co.uk for us. And then if anybody wants to find me on LinkedIn, Craig Allen Smith, my middle name, I use my middle name because my surname is so common. Craig Allen Smith, you'll find me, the Big Picture People, on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with you, reach out. Always looking to share things, ideas and knowledge, and find out from other people like you. That's how we met. And also we've got a blog on our website as well, where we try and generate some useful, interesting content that people might find beneficial, and some thought leadership as well there as well.
Brilliant. Thank you, Craig. Thank you so much for taking time to be with me today, and I'm sure we'll be catching up again soon.
It's an absolute pleasure, Kjaer. Thank you for asking me.